In 2007, a man walked into a conference room on Wall Street and told a room full of the most powerful bankers in America that the entire financial system was about to collapse. They laughed at him. 14 months later, Lehman Brothers was gone. Bear Stearns was gone. The stock market lost half its value. Millions of people lost their homes, their savings, their retirement funds. The man who predicted all of it? He didn't lose a single dollar. In fact, he made money, a lot of it. His name is Ray Dalio, and right now, in 2025, he is saying something that Wall Street does not want you to hear. He is warning that the United States is sitting on top of an $18 trillion time bomb, and that the fuse has already been lit. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what Ray Dalio is warning about, why he believes it could be worse than anything we've seen since the Great Depression, and, most importantly, what ordinary people can actually do before it happens. And to understand why this warning matters so much, you first need to understand who Ray Dalio actually is. Because this is not some guy on the internet with a podcast. This is the man who built the largest hedge fund in human history, from his apartment. Ray Dalio grew up in a middle-class family in Long Island, New York. His father was a jazz musician. His mother was a homemaker. They were not rich. At 12 years old, Ray got a job as a caddy at a golf course. One of the regulars there talked about stocks. Ray used his caddy money to buy his first share, a company called Northeast Airlines, at $5 a share. The airline was almost bankrupt, but instead of going to zero, it got acquired. His $5 share tripled. Ray was hooked. He studied economics, got into Harvard Business School, and then went to work on Wall Street. But Ray wasn't like the other traders. While everyone else was focused on what was happening right now, this quarter, this year, Ray was obsessed with patterns. He studied every financial crisis in history, every market bubble, every debt collapse. He wanted to find the machine underneath the chaos. In 1975, at 26 years old, he started Bridgewater Associates, not in a skyscraper, not with investors, in his apartment. Today, Bridgewater manages over $100 billion. It is the largest hedge fund on the planet. But here's what most people don't know about Ray Dalio. His biggest win wasn't 2008. His biggest win was figuring out why 2008 happened, and building a theory so precise, so detailed, that it could predict the future. He called it the big debt cycle. And according to that theory, the United States is right now in the most dangerous phase it has ever been in. To understand Dalio's warning, you need to understand one simple idea. Every great empire in history has followed the same pattern, the same machine, over and over again for 500 years. It looks like this. An empire rises. It becomes dominant. It controls trade. It controls the world's reserve currency, the money that everyone else uses to do business. And because everyone trusts its currency, it can borrow enormous amounts of money at very low cost. So it borrows, and borrows, and borrows. At first, the borrowing is smart. It builds roads, schools, military power. It funds innovation. The empire grows stronger. But then something shifts. The borrowing starts going to consumption instead of production. Instead of building things, the empire is spending money just to maintain its lifestyle, to pay its bills, fund its military, keep people happy. The debt keeps growing. The interest payments keep growing. Eventually, the empire is spending so much just to pay interest on its old debt that it can't afford to invest in its future. And then comes the breaking point. The world starts to notice. Foreign countries start to wonder, can America actually pay this back? They start selling U.S. bonds. The dollar weakens. Inflation rises, interest rates rise, and the whole machine starts to crack. Dalio studied this exact pattern in the rise and fall of the Dutch Empire in the 1600s, the British Empire in the 1800s, and 12 other major powers throughout history. Every single one of them followed the same arc. And when he looks at the United States today, he sees the same arc, the same warning signs, the same trajectory, the same machine playing out in real time. So what exactly is the $18 trillion bomb that Dalio is talking about? The United States currently carries $36 trillion in national debt. That number alone is staggering. It's more than the entire GDP of the country. But here's what makes it worse. Over the next 10 years, the U.S. government is projected to add another $18 trillion on top of that. Not because of some crisis, not because of a war, just because of the existing spending commitments, Social Security, Medicare, defense, and interest payments on the debt that already exists. Let that sink in. Even if nothing goes wrong, even if there's no recession, no crash, no pandemic, the U.S. is on a path to nearly $54 trillion in debt within a decade. And the interest payments alone are already eating the budget alive. In 2024, for the first time in American history, the U.S. government spent more on interest payments than on national defense, more on interest than on education, more on interest than on infrastructure. America is paying over $1 trillion a year just in interest on money it already borrowed. That's not sustainable, and Ray Dalio is not the only one saying it. The Congressional Budget Office says the same thing. The IMF has raised red flags. Even former Treasury secretaries, people who were inside the government, are quietly using words like crisis and unsustainable. But here's what makes Dalio's warning different from everyone else's. He's not just saying the debt is bad. He's saying the debt is reaching the point where the United States will face a choice that no empire in history has been able to avoid. And that choice always ends the same way. When a country reaches this level of debt, it has three options. Option 1, cut spending dramatically, reduce Social Security, cut the military, eliminate programs, tell voters they're going to feel pain, real pain, for years. No politician in a democracy has ever successfully done this, not at this scale, not without being thrown out of office first. Option 2, default. Simply tell the world, we can't pay you back. Declare bankruptcy on the national debt. This has never happened to the world's reserve currency. If it did, the global financial system would go into shock. The ripple effects would be catastrophic. Option 3, and this is the one Dalio says is most likely, print money. The government tells the Federal Reserve to create dollars, trillions of new dollars. It uses those dollars to pay off old debts. The debt technically gets paid, but the dollar is worth less. Every dollar in your savings account buys less than it did before. This is called monetization of debt. And it is, in effect, a hidden tax on everyone who holds dollars. It's not dramatic. There's no announcement, no crash, no single day where everything falls apart. It's slow, gradual, invisible, until suddenly it isn't. This is what happened in 1970s America, when inflation hit 14%. It's what happened in the UK after World War II. It's what happened in Japan over the last 30 years, where the yen has quietly lost enormous purchasing power, while the stock market stagnated for decades. And Dalio says this is the most likely path for the United States. Not an explosion, a slow bleed. A world where the dollars you save today buy less and less and less, and the people who held traditional savings, bonds, and cash get quietly wiped out. Now, here's the important part, because everything we just talked about sounds terrifying. But Dalio is not saying run for the hills. He's saying understand the machine and position yourself accordingly. What does that mean in practice? Dalio himself has talked about the importance of diversification across asset classes, not just stocks and bonds, but assets that hold value when currencies weaken. Things like gold, inflation-protected securities, and international investments. He's talked about the danger of being too concentrated in any single currency, including the dollar. And he's talked about what he calls the beautiful deleveraging, the idea that if this process is managed well, it doesn't have to be catastrophic. It can be painful, but survivable. The people who get hurt the most in a slow currency debasement are the ones who don't see it coming. The ones who keep all their money in savings accounts earning 2%, while inflation runs at 6%. The people who do okay are the ones who understand what's happening and make adjustments, slowly, carefully, without panic. The first step is always the same: understand the machine. And that's exactly what this channel is here for. Ray Dalio has spent 50 years studying financial cycles. He's seen empires rise and fall in data. He's watched the same patterns repeat across centuries. And right now, he's more concerned about the trajectory of the United States than at any point in his career. That doesn't mean the end is tomorrow. It doesn't mean you should panic. But it does mean you should pay attention. If you want to understand more about the forces that are quietly reshaping the global economy, the things that most people won't know about until it's too late, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because that's what we do here. We follow the money, we read the warning signs, and we explain them in a way that actually makes sense. See you in the next one.